Welcome back. Let's dive into some South Dakota high school football, and for that we send it over to Jason Andera to find out which players stood out this week. Jandy?
Thanks, Kelly. The record books took a hit this week. There were a couple of monster performances that really need to be recognized. Let's take a look at the best stuff from last week's action. Let's start off on our top performers list with Sam Adams, a sophomore running back from Hardin County. He went for 231 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. But get this, his team ran for 492 yards on the day. Wow, that is amazing. And how about Jacob Chiak of Avon? He is now over 1,200 yards on the season. He went for 247, a season high for him with 5 touchdowns in a win over Centerville. Avon now receiving votes in the 9A poll. One of those votes is from me. Thank you, Avon. Trey King from Irene Wakanda back on the list. He once again goes over 300 yards of total offense with only 2 incomplete passes on the day. He had a hand in 5 different touchdowns. There were also some big rushing performances. Taven McKee, Zach Party, they got big rushing performances in their wins. And how about this guy? Braden Peterson once again torches defenders. This time comes up with 3 touchdowns. Usually they're this type right here, the long variety. He helped his coach get to 100 career victories with his 198-yard performance against Watertown. This guy is having a phenomenal year behind a very athletic and very big offensive line. Let's take a look back at the graphic here where we see John Whitty of Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central. He ran for 259 yards and 4 touchdowns in a big win over Roncalli. Huge night for that senior. Plus, we have a few big team performances to talk about. How about the Sully Buttes offense? 658 yards rushing. We were just talking about Hardin County's 492. They make that look small. That is a single game, 3rd best ever, and their 764 total yards in the game last Friday set a new all-time record. That breaks Woolsey Wessington's record back in 2014. They had only 738 yards from scrimmage. So wow, that's pretty amazing for Sully Buttes. They got 13 yards per carry in that game. Morris Hofer, he had a 224-yard performance. Nick Whitler went for 154, and their quarterback Devin Clevin 97 more yards. Another team effort, Madison's trio of Josh Giles, Jaden Yonke, and Jackson Yonke. Another huge game for them. They really had a dominant win over T-Area. Giles threw for 224 and a touchdown. Jackson caught 7 passes, gained 144 yards, and twin brother Jaden ran for 138 more yards.
Luckily, they only had 1 on me the whole game. I was just able to make the plays and just got in the end zone for us on those 2. It does surprise me, but I'll take it. I'm going to just take whatever they give me, but I'm happy they do it.
Yeah, those Bulldogs went crazy in another home performance against Madison, solidifying their #1 spot. But while all those performances were amazing, let's put in perspective what Tupac Capella achieved not only this week, but in his career so far. Game ball time goes to Tupac Capella. He ran for 4 touchdowns and 200-plus yards in just the first half against Aberdeen Central on a wet track. He is just a junior, guys, and is already the all-time leading rusher at Sioux Falls, Washington High School. These are some records that have been kept since 1990, so he still moves ahead of big names like Tim Marlette, Devontae Clay, and he's already over 2,700 career yards. He could really put that number out of reach with another month of football this season, and you know what? He's got a whole another year ahead, so get used to the Tupac Capella stats coming at you in the box score over the next couple of months and the next season. Congratulations to Tupac on his 2nd game ball of the season. Let's take a look at some of the rankings that came out in South Dakota yesterday. Pierre finds themselves with 100% of the first place votes in 11AA. The Govs, they lost their first game of the year, actually a 2-part game against Harrisburg, but since then they have won everything else. Last week, Peyton Zabel led his team over the previous #1 Mitchell in a 14-7 ball control game. Zabel didn't really put up the ridiculous numbers that he has all season long, but he did line up at receiver and catch that touchdown you just saw, and he had a really good game overall. Here's Peyton talking about his big team's winning performance.
Definitely battling through adversity. It wasn't always clean, it wasn't always smooth. We had some mix-ups in the secondary and just the offensive line and just figuring stuff out. And, you know, that stuff happens. We knew bad stuff was going to happen, but we just battled through it and we kept going. It's got to be our defense. It's got to be our defense. They played really well, and our offense struggled. I mean, we were dealing with some different injuries and stuff and miscommunications, and it was just struggle, and they came out in something a little bit different, so I applaud them. Great defense, and we just got to get ready for next week so that stuff doesn't happen.
Remember, we have Peyton Zabel of the Govs hosting Roosevelt coming up on Friday night, so we'll have a full preview of that game later. Let's take a look at some of the #1 teams across the classes. In 5 of those 7 classes, they are unanimous #1. Sioux Falls, Washington, Madison, Gregory, Corsica, Stickney all have solid spots at that 1 spot. Coleman Egan garnered all but 1 vote in 9B. The only class that has some indecision is 11B, where Sioux Valley and Bridgewater Emory Ethan both have some support at #1. Those teams meet on the field this Friday in Bridgewater. That's going to end out their regular season for both of those teams, and we'll have more on that game when we go to our Pick'em segment on Thursday. A lot of great football this season, Kelly. We're winding down, but great performances as usual.
All right, thanks, Jandy. We're looking forward to it. Coming up after the break, David Brown and Marty Mueller go head-to-head, and later see what kind of talent we have this week for Trick Shot Tuesday. You're watching Midco Sports Tonight.